Hello guys, this is TRC Mbogwa and welcome back to another episode of Tipping the Scale, where we are all about being the best version of ourselves that we can be, tipping the scale of our lives to a more positive aspect. So let us dive in, let us tune you in so that we can find out what today's episode is all about. So welcome again guys as we walk towards that better version of ourselves. In our previous episodes on self-love, overthinking versus positive thinking, and basically in all the episodes that we have done, I have continually insisted on the importance of being in a good headspace, the importance of being in a positive mental space, because once we can grasp a positive mindset, a positive mental space, a good headspace, life changes for us. It gets brighter as it brings forth more positive situations into our lives. But sometimes on this journey of being more aware of what is going through your thoughts and using this awareness to tip the scale of your thoughts towards a more positive aspect, it really feels like life is not really changing, like it's not bringing forth all these positive situations that we keep talking about, because you have all these challenges and all these triggers coming your way and you wonder, how is this still happening? Is it that life is not really changing? Is it that this positivity thing is not working? Is it not for me? So that is what we are discussing today. So again guys, welcome to Tipping the Scale. So in my personal growth and self-development journey, I have had a sort of back and forth progression where I would make really good efforts in being in a positive headspace, like being more aware of what is going through my mind, observing my thoughts, using this awareness to tip the scale of my thoughts to a more positive aspect, choosing more positive thoughts. And I will grasp a positive headspace, I will grasp a positive mindset. And life, I will see life change. It will brighten out. More positive situations would come my way. And I will find beauty in the simplest of things. But at some point, a challenge would come and it would knock me off my feet. I would literally feel like I'm falling back to my old self, where I would spiral in this web of negative thinking. And I would wonder, how is this still happening? Is it that all that I'm learning, all that I'm reading, is it that it's not working, or what is really going on? And then at some point I would calm down, make some more progress in being more positive, grasp a positive headspace, everything is nice, everything is beautiful, then boom, another challenge would come my way, knock me off my feet. And it felt like I just kept, getting on the wagon and falling off over and over again. And I went back and forth for quite a couple of months, still wondering, why is it that these challenges are still coming my way? Is this not working for me? And what the hell is really going on? So after going back and forth for quite a couple of months, I saw that I was doing the same thing over and over again. So obviously I would be getting the same results over and over again. And I must have been doing something wrong. And that is when I realized that why these challenges keep appearing, why these triggers keep coming your way. They are more of a teachable moment sort of situation, more of a test, not a place for you to start complaining and wondering, why is this still happening? For me, I was unconsciously using the challenge as a space to act out old mind patterns that I will just categorize as negative thinking and beating myself up about this, rather than intentionally using the challenge as a space to measure and gauge my growth. Normally, in the face of a challenge or an upset, most of us have an automated reaction, but we do not really realize this. And this is a reaction of acting out of old mind patterns, where we go back to the factory setting of fear and of worry that we've learned over the years, which then fuels this web of negative thinking. And once we dive into this web of negative thinking, we forget and we fall back. We forget all that we have been learning. We forget all that we have been unlearning. We forget all the positive thoughts we've been practicing. We forget the shift we've been trying to make into being a better person, and we fall back to that old and past conditioned self, that old and past conditioned person that we were. And once we realize that we have fallen off the wagon, we then start beating ourselves up about it, and this is just but another web of negative thinking. And in the progression of our growth, we take a few steps back. So how can we truly and effectively move forward with our growth? How can we make the progression of our growth move more linearly? This is by using the challenge as a space to serve our growth, as a space to propel our growth, a space to measure our growth and gauge ourselves. This upset, this challenge, this trigger, this thing that has gone wrong, this is the platform for us to truly, truly practice what we have been learning and to become what we have been working towards, to become that person. Because this time, in the face of this trigger and this upset, this is the time we have the highest tendency to fall back to old behavioral patterns. So if we can catch ourselves before we fall back, and in that moment we practice what we have been learning, we will start to imprint a different pattern. We start an imprint of a new and a better serving pattern. We imprint a new thought, and we ingrain the habit deeper into our subconscious mind. You know that moment when something goes wrong and you spiral in this web of negative thinking, and it just shows you everything that is wrong with everything? That is what I am talking about, the automated reaction. That is the falling back to old behavioral patterns and acting out old mind patterns. So if we can catch ourselves in that moment and we remember to practice what we have been learning, we now imprint a new pattern. We now imprint a new and a better serving pattern. Because being positive when everything is going well, when everything is going your way and everything is just easy and beautiful, it's really easy to be positive in that place. But being in that positive mental space, being that person in the face of a challenge, that is a whole different story. But doing this is what really shows the internal change that is going on within us. And this is what really ingrains that habit deeper into our subconscious mind and imprints a new habit. There is a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. And in the face of this challenge, being in that positive headspace and being that positive person in the face of the challenge, that is what walking the path is. Rather than just acting out old mind patterns and be like, I know all about positivity, but I don't really walk it, That is why most people will tend to assume that this positive thinking stuff and positive life stuff does not really work or is not really for them, because they're not really walking the path. In the face of a challenge, they do not realize that they are unconsciously acting out old mind patterns. So they find themselves falling and spiraling in this reaction, in this mental reaction of negative thinking. And then they just end up assuming, and doubt creeps in, and they wonder if this is really working. So they just end up assuming that, this doesn't really work and this is not for me. But if we keep doing the same thing, we will keep getting the same results. So in the face of a challenge, we obviously need to be doing something different. So the next time a challenge shows up, for a split second, just remember who you are. Remember the person you have been working towards. Remember what you have been learning and what you have been learning. And I mean what you have been learning and what you have been unlearning. Remember all the positive thoughts you have been affirming and practicing. Remember to breathe and to respond rather than to react. And how we do this, how we respond rather than reacting, is by shifting our perspective. Shifting the perspective from why is this happening to me and this should not be happening, and shifting it to this is the time for me to imprint that new pattern. This is the time for me to ingrain that habit deeper into my subconscious mind. This is not the time for me to be falling back to old behavioral patterns, but rather to measure my growth, to propel my growth and to measure myself. That shift in perspective really helps you in remembering what you have been learning, and remembering to respond rather than to react. And to do this practice with the smallest of triggers, with the smallest of challenges, and just remembering just for a split second. You don't need to remember throughout the entire challenge, just for a moment. Even if you remember and forget, just that small remembering of responding rather than reacting, and remembering to ingrain the habit deeper in your mind, it starts imprinting that new and different and better serving thought slowly by slowly. And this is how life changes for you, because you change. And as you do this, you will face some internal resistance because the negative thinking has already grasped some sort of momentum within your mental space. And what you're trying to do here is override that negative thinking momentum with a positive and better serving thinking momentum. And this is not quite easy. So that's why you will face some internal resistance. So if you face some resistance and feel like this is really hard and you're being pulled into the reaction more, just remember what you're trying to do is override that momentum. And if you fall back and you're unable to override it, because the first time you practice this, you might not be able to override it. This will take some practicing. But if you fall into a reaction, just stay aware within the reaction. Observe your reaction completely. Be the witness of your reaction. It's like looking at yourself react from a third-party perspective so that you bring the repetitive patterns into light. And that shift in perspective will really aid you in this process. So just witness and completely observe your reaction. And if you fall back completely and don't remember to do any of this, later on, do not beat yourself up about it, because in retrospect, all this going back and forth, it's still part of the process. And it still serves you either way, whether you fall back, because it will show you what to pay attention to next time. It's like when doing an exam. If your exam results come back and there's a specific question that you did not get, you will not start beating yourself up about it because you did not get it. It will just show you that this topic, you're not really familiar with it, and this is the topic you need to pay attention to next time. So that is the same thing here. And the right attitude and the positive mindset within this challenge, within the face of a challenge, will also serve you in a way that it makes the solutions come easier to you. You will get solutions more easily if you're in the right headspace. We've all had this cliche of when one door closes, another opens. But if one door closes and you're constantly focusing on the closed door and wondering why is this happening and lamenting about it, you will not be in a place to see when this other door opens. And we saw this in our episode on, I think, embracing uncertainty. We saw that there is an opportunity concealed within every crisis, but the only way this opportunity will manifest for us if we embrace what is going on rather than resisting it, embracing it as it is. And this also applies here, embracing what is going on as it is, embracing the challenge as it is, embracing your reaction by observing it so that you see the repetitive mind patterns, because either way it serves you. In the episode on looking for the good, we saw how everything serves you good. And this also applies here, because whether you react and whether you respond, it still serves you in retrospect to everything. If you react, it serves you because it shows you what to pay attention to next time. So do not beat yourself up about it and be patient with yourself. All these things that we talk about here, they are all intertwined. They're like different bricks of the same wall. You just work on one brick at a time and know how they, connect. So the next time a challenge shows up, smile at it, gear up, and use it to propel your growth and to ingrain that new behavioral pattern. Remember to breathe and to respond. Remember to walk the path. And most importantly, practice, and be patient with yourself. And this is how life changes, because you change. You have internally changed and your response to situations changes, and this is how life gets easier, how life gets lighter, and how life gets brighter. So that is all for today, guys. Just remember to breathe and to respond. Remember to be present. Remember to walk the path. Thank you for tuning in again today, guys, and share this if you like it. And before you can deny all this, just try it. I will see you in the next episode.